Okay, so welcome to Madie Scott's senior meeting. At this meeting, we will determine whether or not Madie Scott should graduate from high school. And each person here will speak to whether or not Madie Scott should graduate from high school. Madie will be the first one to make her case. She will present her portfolio to us. We will not be reading all elements of the portfolio, but Madie will highlight the important evidence. After she's done speaking, Madie will sign her signature page and then pass it along. And we'll go this way around the table. We'll jump from Connor to me and then go back to parents, and then we'll be done. And we probably do want to keep a little bit of an eye on the clock. We are starting 23 minutes late. So we'll do our best to stay within an hour for our grad meeting. Okay? Any questions? Go ahead, Madie.
All right, I will start at the beginning of my book, and I will work my way through. Beginning is science. In my science letter, I wrote about how I really enjoy science class, and I have always enjoyed science classes, and I really like that I can take challenging science classes here. I talked about, I took physics and chemistry both in 10th grade, and that was like really the year that I started pushing myself, because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do two science classes at once, but it was, in the end, I think it was a really good choice, because then I was able to experience both. And I liked chemistry a lot more than I liked physics, but I think that's good for me to know after taking that class. And then I talk about AP Biology, which was also pretty challenging because it was really fast-paced compared to the other classes I'd taken. But it was also really fun, and so I'm taking APES this year because I really enjoyed taking an AP Science class last year. And I'm definitely going to want to continue studying science in college. I don't know if it's something that I'm going to want to build a career on, but I really have enjoyed science class while I've been in them. And then my example of work is from last year in AP Bio. We did a case study on a microbe that we chose, and so this little guy lives in Yellowstone geysers. And it was a challenge to fit onto one page. And then I have this lovely recommendation from Megan. Next is math. In this letter at the beginning, I talked more about how I always enjoyed math a lot when I was in elementary school, and then when I got to high school, I really started struggling. And I think that part of it was because I wasn't enjoying the class, so I wasn't pushing myself as much because I didn't want to. And before that, it had always been pretty easy to push myself because I felt like I was really enjoying math class. And so after 9th grade, I really shifted the way I thought about math class, and I had to be this isn't my favorite subject, but it's something that I can be good at if I really try. And so this year I'm taking AP Calc, which I think is a testament to the fact that I pushed through that, through geometry and AP Stats and pre-calculus, even though those were all hard classes for me. And then I have this test from statistics, which I got a P on, and I got 59%, which is one away from an E. But it was one that I really struggled on, and I think this might be a retake, but it doesn't say retake, so it might not be. But that's one unit that I had trouble with. Next is English, the start of the coherent communications section. This subject, I think, is one of my favorite subjects that I've taken while I've been in high school. It's been really awesome to take English with Leo, and I had one year with Kevin, which was super cool because I got to branch out to different mediums. We did a lot of film, and we did a podcast, which was cool. I never thought about English that way before, but I really like AP Lit, which is what I'm taking this year, and I took it last year, and it's really fun for me to analyze the books that we read in class. And I think that through studying English, it's really made me a much better writer, a much better reader, and now in the past few years better at watching movies and analyzing director choices and stuff like that, which I never expected to get out of an English class, but which was super cool. And then this artifact is a couple of analytical paragraphs that I got a high score on my first try, about Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, which was not my favorite reading, but I wrote a very good paragraph.
One of my favorites.
Sorry, Leo.
Not for everybody.
Yeah, well, it was interesting. I evidently had some good things to say about it. And then I have a wonderful recommendation from Leo as well. Next is Spanish, which is also coherent communications. When I was at Adams Spanish Immersion, I kind of just like took Spanish for granted. And when I got here, I was like, just kind of like riding off that wave. I was like, oh man, Spanish is great. Like, it's just part of my life. And then when I got to AP Spanish, it had been like a few years since I had been speaking it every day. And it got harder. It's still like, it's pretty natural. It's like pretty instinctive, but not taking Spanish this year has really like been a shift for me. It's really like very different. I've taken Spanish every year up till this year, so like it makes me kind of like miss taking Spanish class. So I will probably definitely be taking more Spanish classes as I continue my education, because I think it'll be really useful. It's really useful to be able to speak another language, and I love learning about Spanish culture. Thanks in part to Tim, who did a very good job of teaching me. And this is an essay that I wrote in class. A bunch of people have asked me, is this your AP essay? And I'm like, no, this is just one that I wrote in class, but that I felt pretty good about. We were writing on-demand essays. And then I also have a recommendation from Tim here. The next subject is music, which is also coherent communications. I am clearly doing very well in this area. At OWL, I've only been in choir for 2 years, because that is as long as choir has existed here. But I really love music. I've been playing the piano since I was in kindergarten. And my piano teacher, I talk about it in this letter, she's been a wonderful teacher, and she really has instilled in me this love for classical music, and I love to learn about different parts of songs and how they're put together. And I'm really thankful to be able to have that as another side of my education, that I can appreciate a different kind of art, rather than just taking art classes here, like drawing, or even just choir. So I've done a lot of really cool things through taking piano lessons. I've played with an orchestra, I've played in an honors concert, twice actually, but it was really fun, and it's really great that I get to be singing in the choir at school now, that it gets tie into my actual education. And then this is the brochure from the honors concert in 2013. They misspelled my name, but that's probably my fault. I was a small child and was not very good at putting myself out there, so I probably just didn't correct them when they asked me how to spell my name. And then I have a recommendation from my piano teacher, Helen Marie. Next area, moving right along. This is social studies. A big part of my social studies education has been through History Day, as many of you probably have also experienced. History Day is just so wonderful. It teaches you so many things across so many different disciplines, so many skill sets, like making bibliographies, and I'm much better at writing information concisely now through doing History Day, just revising something again and again. And then also I took AP Human Geo in 10th grade, which was really interesting. It was kind of, as we all know, a less structured class, but it was really awesome because learning about kind of that sort of human side of the history part. It's kind of it's not just history, it's what's happening today. This is happening around the world, which was I always love learning more about how I can connect what's in class to what's in the world. So that was a class that was really easy for me to draw the connection, okay, this is actually something that I can apply to what I see in the world around me. So I think I'll definitely try to take other classes like that in the future. And then this is an example of work. This is my process paper from my History Day project last year from state. Personal development. We're moving away from academics now for the most part. All right, I'm trying to remember what I wrote in this letter. I think that coming to OWL was huge for who I became as a person. Like, one of the first things that I did in 7th grade was, like, I joined theater, which was something that I, like, would never have imagined myself doing before coming to Open, because I was just so shy and I wasn't good at, like, going out and meeting new people. But, like, going to a school that's 612 really helped that. And I think, like, through joining theater and, like, being in theater for like a few years after that was really just like a huge part of like who I have become, because I'm like much more, I don't know, I'm not gonna say loud, but I'm much more talkative than I used to be. I used to be so shy. I used to not talk to anybody. But theater was really just like something that I loved, and I loved doing the musical, even if it was really difficult. And I loved doing the musical, but I also loved being in The Tempest, which is from Shakespeare, which was awesome because I love that I can enjoy doing such different things in theater. And then another big part of like my personal journey through high school has been going to camp at Widgewagon up in northern Minnesota. I've done a lot of backpacking trips, and it's like I've been doing trips that are getting longer and longer, and over the last few years, there's like a really big emphasis on like taking time to reflect on what you're learning while you're out there in the wilderness. So it's not just like, oh, you run around like a crazy person for 3 weeks. It's like you take some time to like think about what are valuable skills that I'm learning from this experience. And so like it just like makes you so self-aware to be out there and to have to rely on yourself for everything. And it really not only like builds like physical skills that I have, but also like interpersonal skills, because to build a group that stays cohesive for 30 days is really difficult when there's only 5 of you. And then also another thing that really has changed who I am, I guess, is being on the ski team. It's just like another leadership role that I've been able to play. And I wrote about like my leadership identity for one of my college essays, because I think it's a really important part of who I am. I'm a little bit of like a natural leader, but I'm also like not trying to impose my views on anybody else. And I think that being a captain on the ski team and having co-captains was part of that. And I think that also Widgie is part of that, just making sure you listen to other people. So I think that skiing is definitely, it was a really great way for me to push myself individually and to be a part of a team that like you can form a unit with. So I really like that. My service. Service is huge here. And I like didn't really realize until we started logging our service hours for real. Logging service hours. We were supposed to start logging service hours. That just like we do so much within the school here. So like talking to other people, they're like, oh, so if you've had an experience doing community service, it's like, yeah, we do it all the time. Like do it like for fall retreats and stuff. And so I was like, wow, like that's like actually something that I do all the time. I never thought about it, which I think is a great like mindset to have, because I think that a lot of people don't get to experience like, you just feel so good when you do something for someone else, like just because you want to, which is like my favorite part of doing service. So I think I talked about Outward Bound, which has been so amazing to be a part of. And I talked about other things that I've done outside of school. Like I was an intern at Gibbs Museum for 2 summers, and I've done Night on the Street through church, which is like raising awareness for homeless youth, which was also really cool, and I never would have learned about it otherwise. And then I also talk about like a big part of my school service during high school and middle school was doing recruitment and like being a shadowy, but just like talking about how much I love Open can be a school service, which is kind of great, and it's something that I'm pretty good at. Post-high plans. If you all tell me I can graduate, then next year I will be going to Carleton College, which I'm really excited about. But in this letter I wrote about how I'm not really sure what I want to study when I get there. Like through talking when I'm at college visits, like I've just kind of like worked out like, oh, you know, I really love music. I'd love to study music more, but I also love social studies. I'd love to explore that more because like there's so many things like within that that I have never like thought to delve into yet. And then over the summer, I will be going on a trip to the Arctic with Widgie, and I'll be gone for 7 weeks. But I think that like that is a sort of like experience that's gonna be like a gap year, but condensed into a month and a half. And so I think that like going and being away from home for so long before going off to college is gonna like kind of be like a pre-college, like to think about like who I am going to be once I am in college. I think it's gonna be really like a wonderful experience. I know it will be. This is my service log. As you can see, I have more than 300, which is the requirement. I've been showing it to people and they're like, you put your service log in there? And I was like, yeah, so I put my service log in there. Other than that, I have awards here in the back. It's a lot of honor roll certificates. I have some History Day honors. I didn't put any pictures of me with my medals. No one can upstage Jennifer. And then also, I have my letter awards from Central, which is like not something that I get anywhere else. It's like an athletic award instead of an academic one, which like I've never really paid attention to, but like now that I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that's an important part of who I am. And then some pictures at the end. So I feel ready to graduate. Obviously not right now, but I think that by the time the end of fourth quarter rolls around, I will feel like I have gotten a very like well-rounded education. I will feel that I am prepared for whatever I do for the rest of my life.
Excellent, thank you, Maddie. Well, I'd like you to please sign your signature page.
This one?
You can choose just one.
Okay, since that one's already out, I'll pick this one.
Yep. And while Maddie's doing that, Melina, it is your turn to speak as to whether or not she wants to.